Behind every gaming company, there is a shadow glooming. And every time that company messes up, that shadow will make it clear. Now that shadow is also known as its player base. But there's another shadow lurking behind that one. I call it a double shadow. And that shadow might actually be the one pulling all the strings. Okay, so you might be thinking, Pokédaxi, are you high right now? I promise I'm not high, so here, let me get you caught up. You see, recently the AR company Niantic took their player base, me included, on one of the most emotional rides a player base has probably ever experienced. And it all started on October 27th, 2022. On this date, Shuppet's Spotlight Hour was supposed to happen, and for the first 5 minutes and last 5 minutes of Shuppet's Spotlight Hour, we were supposed to have the debut of Zorua in Pokemon Go. Niantic spent many days hyping up the release of this Pokemon, and this is how it worked. Like I said, the first 5 minutes and last 5 minutes of Spotlight Hour, your buddy Pokemon would appear on the map. You could then encounter said buddy Pokemon and catch it, and it would transform into a Zorua. Remember, it was Spotlight Hour, so it was pretty much Spotlight Hour for Zorua, which means if you had something like Kyogre as your buddy, Kyogre would just swamp the map around you, and you could barely move. Now, one thing Niantic did not do for this event was test it. As people in the first times when the world started catching Zoras, they noticed heavier than normal Zoras, and also the Zoras they were catching had higher CPs than intended to be. And that's because Zorua was copying the base stats, the weight, the height, and the moves of the Pokemon you were catching. For example, say you had a best buddy level 50 Mewtwo as your buddy, then you caught one of these buddies in the wild, but it was actually a Zorua. Well, you would catch a 4000 CP Mewtwo with Mewtwo's potential moves and Mewtwo's weight and Mewtwo's height, and you're pretty much just catching a Dark-type Mewtwo. Niantic quickly enough realized their mistake and said, no more Zorua for you guys. Niantic quickly canceled Zorua for the rest of the Spotlight Hour because they didn't know how to fix it, and I think only about 2 to maybe 3 time zones got to actually catch these Zoras. Now, to be honest, the player base was furious because Niantic had been hyping this up with posts on Twitter, Instagram, even their YouTube channel, I believe, getting people hyped for Zorua, and then all of a sudden when they drop it, they have to completely cancel the release of it because of a glitch that they missed. Not a big deal though, right? Like, it's just one little glitch. They'll re-release it. And they did. After a couple days, Niantic put out a blog post, said, hey, Zorua is now available in the wild. Same functions as before. You'll find your buddy Pokemon you catch. It's a Zorua. But it's not going to be spawning like during the Spotlight Hour where it's everywhere. So you'll have to go out and hunt it. Now, how many times in a game's lifespan have you ever seen them fail a release twice in a row? You're in for a treat. With the second release of Zorua came a game-breaking bug in which you could duplicate super rare Pokemon. Let me explain how it worked. Zoras were spawning everywhere in the wild, but you could also find them off your incense, off your daily incense, and off lure spawns. I have no idea how trainers found this out, but if you were able to catch a Zorua using your auto catcher, whether that be a Pokemon Go Plus, a Ball Plus, or whatever auto catcher you use, you would actually catch whatever Pokemon was your buddy. You wouldn't catch a Zorua. Let's say you had a Mew as your buddy. Let's say you had a Zarude as your buddy. You were able to actually catch Mews, Zarudes, etc., in the wild. I know some people who took advantage of this and got multiple Mews, multiple Zarudes, multiple mythicals like Celebi that are normally capped at 1 per trainer, maybe 2 if the shiny's been released. Now, obviously, this is a game-breaking bug, right? Niantic had to fix it, and they did. But how, you may ask? Well, you may think they're going to go ahead and simply fix the Zorua and fix those spawns. Well, no, they're just going to turn off auto catchers instead. That's the way to do it, right? Instead of simply fixing the problem, Niantic decided to completely remove auto catchers in the game and not allow anyone to connect their auto catcher or use their auto catcher, and this went on for multiple days. The part that made me the most mad was that they didn't notify anybody except on Twitter a couple hours later. The people who don't have Twitter or follow Pokemon Go on Twitter did not get an in-game notification about auto catchers being off until 3 days after they were turned off. A little bit slow for my liking. Now let's go back to those exclusive mythical Pokemon some people were able to get. Obviously, Niantic is not going to let them keep it, so what did they do? Well, there was a lot of smart people in the community who decided to say, hey, I'm going to take my Zarude, I'm going to take my Hoopa, I'm going to take my Celebi, I'm going to take my Mew, or whatever mythical or super rare Pokemon I was able to duplicate with this glitch, and they sent it over to Pokemon Home. This pretty much blocked Niantic from being able to access that Pokemon's data and take it away from their account, and now they had a bunch of extra Mews, Zarudes, or whatever they wanted in their Pokemon Home. People were literally able to duplicate rare Pokemon in Pokemon Go because of this glitch, and I don't think the Pokemon company was happy about it. Now I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of people were happy that auto catchers were turned off in Pokemon Go. Looking on Twitter, all I saw was outrage, me myself included. I wasn't happy I spent money on a device and then it wasn't working. Meanwhile, all of this, Zorua was just chilling in Pokemon Go enjoying its time. Honestly, I'd much rather auto catchers be on than Zorua get successfully released. But this brings us all back to those shadows that I was talking about at the start. You see, I was really confused on why they just didn't fix Zorua or remove Zorua a second time. And that's because I think that second shadow is the Pokemon Company. The Pokemon Company obviously has a huge saying in what Niantic does and does not in Pokemon Go. And I believe for a scenario like this where Niantic biffs up twice in a row releasing a Pokemon, the Pokemon Company is going to step in and tell them what to do. My theory is that the Pokemon Company was like, hey, you guys already messed this up twice, you're not going to re-release Zorua a third time, so take the other thing out of the game, take the thing that's causing the bug, and then when Zorua leaves on November 1st, you can figure out how to fix it for next year. Yeah, that's right, Zorua is not even available in the game right now, and that's why auto catchers are working, so I very much doubt this whole thing has been fixed, because the second Zorua got removed on November 1st and wasn't catchable anymore was the moment auto catchers came back online. Honestly, at the end of the day, the lesson for Niantic is to test your game. Test your game, test it once, test it twice, test it 3 times, make sure things work. To be honest though, it got me all thinking there actually is a fourth shadow. This shadow gets its way no matter what the Pokemon Company says, no matter what the player base says, no matter what Niantic tries to do, the fourth shadow will always get its way, and that shadow is also known as bugs. I don't think we'll ever get away from them.